So, I had planned to record this morning, however, I got sidetracked because the sun was coming in so strongly that you couldn't see me. And that seemed like a problem, so I had to wait, and I have a feeling the kitten and the dog are going to start making noise as soon as I start reading to you. But we're going to cross our fingers that that won't happen. And Hidden Talents today, I'm going to reread the page I got cut off on yesterday. And today I want you to see the plot twist. What is it? And why now? Because again, authors have these plans and this author's message, and how does it all relate and fit together? And why would you want something to twist right now? So I hope you'll enjoy this. Let's see. Martin, yes. I really wish it was someone else, just about anyone else. But our guest would like to speak with you after lunch. Me? I really couldn't believe this. Unfortunately, I would have suggested someone more pleasant, but they picked you. Come to the office when the bell rings. I was too stunned to say anything. I just sat there and watched him walk away. Anyone but me? I thought. All I had to do was spend 10 minutes in a room with the inspectors, and they'd probably decide to call in the airstrike to wipe Edgeview off the map. At the very least, they'd probably boot me out immediately, no matter what the regulations might be. Do you really care what happens to Edgeview? Lucky asked me. I thought about Principal Davis and his punishments. I thought about Mr. Parsons and his anger. But I also thought about Mr. Briggs and his passion for teaching, and Miss Nomad, who cared too much, and Ms. Crenshaw, who tried to make classes interesting. And I thought about all the kids who needed some place in the system. I nodded. A strange smile flitted across Lucky's lips. Personally, I wouldn't bother, but if that's what you want, then it's time to use your power, Martin. From a draft of a report by Dr. Lenore Harper on the status of the state's alternative schools. The minimal success of the current alternative schools leaves us with a tough decision. There seem to be 3 available choices. 1. Leave the system in place for another 5 years, test period. Advantage. The staff will gain experience. Disadvantage. The system has done little to improve the dropout rate or address the needs of these students. 2. Merge the 4 existing schools into one. A. Suitable building is available. Advantage. This move will save money. Disadvantage. Some parents will have to travel a greater distance to visit their children. 3. Abandon the alternative school approach. Advantage. Substantial savings that can be spent elsewhere. Disadvantage. There's no place else for these students to go. Wow, cheery letter on his part. Talent is the name of this chapter. Because remember, they just said it's time for you to use your talent, Martin. The statement was so strange, I didn't even react to it for a moment. Finally, I said, "What are you talking about?" "I don't have any power." Lucky snorted out a laugh. "Hey, where have I heard that before? It sure sounds familiar. We didn't admit to our own powers until you forced us to accept the truth. It's the same with you. You have a talent, too. You can't see yours, but we sure can." "That's crazy," I told him. "There's that word again. You know I don't like it." He shook his head. "I'll ask you the same question you asked us. Why are you here?" "Because I got kicked out of a bunch of other schools," I said. "But why?" Lucky asked. "I talk back. You know that. I've got a smart mouth." "Big deal. A lot of kids talk back," Lucky said. "Just about every kid on the planet talks back. But you go way beyond that. You have a gift. You know how to hurt someone. You know how to dig deep and hit a nerve." "It's like Torchy's grandfather," Flinch said. "The one he told us about who always pats him where he's hurting. Except you do your hurting with words. Whether you mean to or not, you always hit the target." "Crazy," I said again. Lucky reached out and grabbed both my shoulders, then leaned forward and put his face right in front of mine. "You hate this, Martin. You hate having someone in your face, especially an adult, And when someone gets too close, you hit him hard. That's your talent. You know where it hurts. Stop it, I said. I tried to pull away. No. Say some painful words, Martin. Hurt me. Prove it. I'm in your face. You hate this. Let me have it. Cut my heart out. He leaned so close. His forehead butted up against mine. I jerked against his grip, but he held on, his fingers digging into my shoulder muscles. I stared at a face that was so close I couldn't even focus on it, hating the feel of his hot breath washing over me. The word shot out. You're pretty cocky for a kid who still wets the bed. I felt the fingers go loose. Lucky jerked away from me. I'm sorry, I said. I didn't know where those words had come from, but I'd have given anything I owned for a chance to take them back. I didn't mean. Lucky swallowed hard, and his cheeks grew red. That's okay. It doesn't matter. I had to prove it to you. Is that true? Torchy asked. Shut up, Flinch said to him. I knew by the look on Lucky's face that it was true. He'd risk humiliation to show me that I had some sort of power. Even so, I didn't want to believe him. I wanted to pound his face with my fists and scream that he was wrong. Your power is pretty obvious, Cheater added. Once we figured it out, it was really amazing watching you in action. No, I tried to protest, but in my heart, I knew anything I said would be a lie. My world had been yanked on its side, or flipped inside out. The past flooded over me. All those times I'd lashed out, all the pain I'd caused, striking, slashing, 1,000 injured faces littered the trail of destruction I'd carved. Cheer up, Cheater said. You're one of us. He was right. I had a hidden talent, my very own psychic power. Wonderful. What a great gift. I could jab a knife of words into anyone's heart. I couldn't see how that would make a difference right now. What good was the power to make people angry? I don't get it, I said. This won't help. Use your power in reverse, Flinch said, just like Torchy did when he put out a fire. Instead of finding the things that hurts the most, find the things that make the person feel good. This was almost too much for me. I don't know if I can. You'll have to, Torchy said. The bell rang. Lunch was over. So that was that chapter. There's a little plot twist there, I think. What is it? Hopefully you caught it. And why is the author doing this now? It's so important to stop and reflect and ask yourself questions. We're almost done with the book, and here they're throwing this dart at us to kind of come together and think about. So let's see what happens next. Dear Mr. Waterstone, I am deeply flattered by your letter. Alphatrix Chemical Corporation has a wonderful reputation. Much to my surprise, I realize that I am happy being where I am and doing what I'm doing. Many thanks for the job offer, but I must regretfully decline. While I have your attention, let me add that our school is always short of funds. So if you have any old lab equipment or supplies you'd care to donate to a worthy cause, I can assure you we'll put the materials to good use. Sincerely, Dale Briggs. That's kind of cool. Meeting. In prison movies, they talk about the long walk. That's the one-way stroll the guy makes from his cell to the electric chair. I was taking a long walk from the lunchroom to the principal's office. My mind was a blur of thoughts. I had a power. I still only half believed it. It was wonderful and terrible at the same time, and it almost had to be true. How else could I have managed to so deeply annoy so many teachers? Not to mention my parents and just about every other adult who'd ever tried to get close to me. Lucky had proved it. He'd allowed me to humiliate him in front of the others. Lucky, who in his way was as fiercely proud as Cheater, had done this for me. Whether he cared about Edu or not, I had to try to do this for him and for all the rest of them, and for myself. Could I reverse my power? Could I make someone feel good? I reached the end of the hall and put my hand on the doorknob. Another question caught my attention. Was it right? Was it okay for me to use this power to get what I wanted? I told Cheater it was okay, but was it? I stepped into the office. Principal Davis was waiting for me. Nice shirt, I said, trying to tell him something that would make him feel good. He frowned and ignored my comment. I realized it had been a poor attempt. I hadn't looked into his deepest fears and hopes. I just blurted out a dumb compliment. In there, he said, stepping away before I had a chance to get close to him and try again. And for heaven's sakes, try to be something other than an annoying little monster for once in your life. Wow, that was really harsh. I walked into the room and found the inspector seated around a table. Come in, a man in a brown suit said. Have a seat. He was wearing a bow tie. Wonderful. Thanks. I pulled out a chair and sat down, then tried to figure out who was in charge. The leader seemed to be the woman across the table, the one in the gray suit. Hello, Martin, she said as she held out her hand. I'm Dr. Harper. Hi, I reached out and took her hand. As our fingers met, I knew what I wanted to say. The knowledge stunned me for a moment. Oh, man. It was sitting right in my head. I'd actually seen her deepest failure. She'd spent years trying to get a job with a textbook company, but they kept turning her down. The words formed in my mind. Well, you may never make it to the book company, but you're probably skilled enough to get a job at a miserable rat hole like Edgeview. I actually bit my tongue. Not hard, but enough to keep the words from spilling out. Dr. Harper gave me an odd look. I realized I was still holding her hand. I let go. As our fingers drew apart, I realized something else. She wanted to have children. That was her deepest desire. Past that, I glimpsed one other thing buried within her. She was proud of her eyes. She was smart and serious and dedicated and hardworking, but she was also very human and very proud of her eyes. Other words came to mind, replacing the attack I had almost unleashed. Gee, you have nice eyes. They're just like my mom's. It would be so easy if I said that. She'd have to like me. With the right words, I could get her to do whatever I wanted. I knew for sure I could control her. There wasn't the slightest doubt in my mind. A tingle ran through my scalp. So, Martin, Dr. Harper said, tell us what it's like for you at Edgeview. Don't be shy. Tell us everything you think is important. We want to know what's good and what's bad about your school. I looked around the table. They all sat ready with their pens, clipboards, waiting to hear me speak. The man to my left was close enough that I knew his deepest sorrow and desire. The same for the man on the right. It would be so easy. If I wanted to, I could become their favorite kid in the world just by telling them the things they needed to hear. They'd love me. I'd own them. I faced the woman with the beautiful eyes. I started talking. I spent nearly half an hour in that room. When I left, I found Principal Davies pacing in the outer office. What did you say? He asked. The truth. Well, I might as well pack up and leave. He groaned and hurried into the room with the inspectors. As the door closed behind him, I could hear his nervous chatter. Now remember, that's just one student. There are dozens of wonderful kids here. Martin can be a bit abrasive at times. He's actually one of our most difficult cases. Don't let that bother you. I left the office. Bloodbath and a couple of his gang were lined up on chairs just inside the door. I guess Principal Davies wanted to talk with them. I walked past, trying not to catch anyone's eye. As I went down the hall, I heard footsteps. 2 pairs following me. 1 big and heavy pair of feet, 1 small pair. I walked towards the stairs. The footsteps sped up. Before I got to the steps, Bloodbath reached me, grabbed my shoulder, and spun me around. You bastard, he said, grabbing me by the shirt. He shoved me against the wall. Why I Like Being Me, L. Bloodbath. From Lester Bloodbath's Wastebasket. If I wasn't me, whoever was me would be beating me up. So it's a good thing I'm me. Well, that's kind of sad. All right, well, I'm going to stop there. And I wonder what Bloodbath is going to be up to. And Why are we having this plot twist now as we move through the end of our story? All right, well, I look forward to reading the rest of it with you. Take care. Bye.